see Teslas driving up and down the highway here. They're beautifully designed. They look futuristic. They require hardly any servicing as well, compared to petrol cars. But, they are that pinnacle of aspirational and ideological, like the saving the planet type of vehicle, but they also look so good. They hit that sweet spot, so to speak, for that aspirational group of people. However, despite all of this kind of marketing, design, production, distribution that has occurred around the electric car industry, we're seeing a drop in sales or a drop in popularity. Why is that? What is happening?
What you just said is the Tesla appeals to that aspirational type of person. The same person who we've just said whinges about outages at Optus, right? So that's really interesting. You made that comment actually, because I was reading or hearing about the inception of Tesla, and Tesla was created by two other people, not Elon Musk. I think Elon Musk came into it at some point later, but the two people who let's say, created Tesla Motors did so apparently by driving around the suburbs, very rich suburbs in California, and wanted to understand what second cars and third cars were being driven by these large, exceptional, mansions and big homes with big garages and swimming pools, who already had, a prestige car and maybe a sports car. And what they noticed at that time was Prius hybrids populating those entire neighborhoods. And they realized that the electric car, the immediate future for the electric car was to design and produce a vehicle that would be primarily targeted at and bought by quite wealthy, upper middle class people, in a phenomenon called not conspicuous consumption, because conspicuous consumption is a modernist sort of dynamic, right? They called this conspicuous conservation, right? That's what they called it. They called this conspicuous conservation. Interestingly, the Tesla began its life as exactly the kind of vehicle that you have just described. But let's not judge it. We're not saying it. I'm not judging virtue signaling at the moment. We're just saying we're talking about marketing here, right? And targeting and target audience. And the initial inception of Tesla Motors, the target audience was exactly the aspirational classes. The target audience was not the working classes, the high-density apartment dweller. It wasn't, right? They didn't think about the car servicing those needs and those people. They thought about it servicing a particular strata, and it was an increasing strata in society at the time. The upper middle classes were, there was they were access to a lot of credit. Increasing property prices gave them access to a lot of money and a lot of credit.
One of the archetypal aspirations of cars was actually flight, right? And
yes.
The Tesla, it's taken flight to a next level. It's not an eagle anymore, or a bird of prey. It's effectively a spaceship.
Okay, I think you've raised there a very important issue. Flight, yes, flight, but more importantly, for people, it is the car has created a sense of freedom and complete liberation, right? That was the whole point of the car. The whole point of the car is you get in your car and you can just drive across America, drive across Australia, drive across Europe, go wherever you want, right? Freedom for the individual, right? And it was fairly cheap motoring at the time, et cetera, et cetera. So the one of the archetypes of driving in the car is total and absolute and utter freedom. There are other ones, like you said, power, flight, all that stuff, right? But freedom is the big deal here, because our question is, why have electric cars stalled, sales stalled, right? And the answer is because they are not on yet, right? They are not yet on code with freedom, right? And the reason that I say that is, so why are these people buying them? These people basically were saying that these people who have a car or two cars already have their freedom. They've already got their status. They got a BMW, they got a whatever, they got a German expat, they've already got their status and they already got their freedom. An internal combustion engine car symbolizes complete freedom. I can get in and drive forever, right? just filling up along the way, right? Easy. So these people already had status, power, and freedom wrapped up in their other vehicles. What they didn't have was this other thing. So they didn't need this other car to have any of that. And so this car is designed for people who have a garage, who can park their electric car in the garage, plug it into their mains electricity, refuel it cheaply from their own grid, from their own home, if possible, and then use it for low-range city driving. In one of the countries where sales have declined the most is Australia, by the way. Because in Australia, we need our cars for this sense of freedom. We need to traverse large distances, the road trip, right? For God's sake, Alan's just launched a range of lollies called the Great Aussie Road Trip, right? Really hard to make the Great Aussie Road Trip at the moment in an electric car. It's for, if you live in Sydney and can plug it back in at home, they're great, probably, right? But until we can get this sense of freedom from the car, Australians at the very least cannot. It's not that they don't want to, it's just that they can't.
During COVID, we went into that lockdown mode and everybody all stopped traveling internationally. And then suddenly, you saw people buying caravans and going camping in their own state. And very much in terms of the mindset, it became about local travel and enjoying Australia and going camping and those sorts of things. And I believe that type of lifestyle holiday has really established itself since COVID. So you now have this commuting or traveling scenario where people are requiring a long road trip car again because Australians since COVID have rediscovered the long road trip, have rediscovered camping and caravanning. And for many people, also, international travel is still out of reach.
You're 100% right. You cannot engage in that classic Aussie lifestyle outdoor type situation with an EV. They can't pull things. They run out of battery within a couple of hours when they tow stuff at the moment. You're in places where you can't recharge them. That's the issue. So when I say I can't be free with that car. I can't be free. I can't hitch up my caravan and go.
The sacrifice is that you're sacrificing a level of freedom, right?
Yes.
Right. So you sacrifice a level of freedom to have moral superiority, right? And that's always going to be an issue for people that don't have the BMW and the quadruple garage, that can't afford to use their vehicle as a virtue signaling device.
I don't even think it's about virtue signaling at that point at all. I just think literally this car cannot do what I need a car to do.